definitely want that. It's a new outfit. Anthony, will you talk to Canada? Come on! Come on, dude! Okay. He's not coming back. He's not coming back.
Mighty, a little bit mighty.
Jeffrey Wright, we want to talk to him.
If I could remember. It's been so long since we filmed it.
Yeah, we're so old. We can't remember.
Talk about what the show has done for TV. I mean, this has kind of changed the landscape. You guys have upped it, personally, I think, to another level.
Yeah, I think. Listen, there's been a sequence of events, and it is the golden age of television, and I think Game of Thrones is obviously part of that. But if you go back to The Wire, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, all that sort of thing, the staircase was laid by these guys, and we just did our best to try and raise that bar a little bit more. And we were just talking about the quality. It always comes down to the word. And from George R. R. Martin to David and Dan, who gave us these magnificent words, sentences, and speeches, you know, we just have to show up.
Has streaming upped the game? Does that change the entire streaming platform? Changed everything?
I think it has, yeah. I think it completely, you know, you don't need a distributor now to show your work. You just get a television channel or a cable channel that streams. So you've now, if you've got enough budget, can go out and make the programs without any conditions first, and then try and sell them to someone who streams, rather than the other way around, you know, that you have to get a distributor and stuff like that. So definitely, and people watch it TV the way they want to watch it now.
Everyone just watches it illegally now, though, either way. We're the most pirated show in history, I think, which is testament to its popularity in many ways.
Just blink if any one of your stars that are nominated will die in the next.
It'd probably be easier
in life
we'd be
or
blinking
in the show.
Yeah.
It'd be probably easier to not blink if they don't die. There'd be less blinking. No, let me get that right. It'd be probably blink if they don't die, maybe.
Are you blinking now?
I can't remember. No, that's just a twitch.
No, you already blinked.
That's too late. That was a free blink.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody, good afternoon or evening, depending on where you're watching Fox News Now from. We are a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. I do want to let you know the red carpet is still live happening now, but what you are watching is pre-record from just moments ago. I'm getting some conflicting information as to exactly what time this show starts. Some places I'm seeing 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, and other places I'm seeing 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. So again, the show will be starting not too long from now, and we're going to continue to listen to the stars as they choose to speak with the media.
I've close spoken with the director of Emmys, so she's been. Yes, but we've got like 4 or 5 people lined up that we can't get. I'm sorry. No, a couple of minutes. I'm just busting your balls. Yes, in like after the director of the Emmys. Okay. Yes. As long as you can nominate. Right? Yeah, sure. Yeah. enjoying that break, by the way. I'm enjoying doing break. Good to see you. This has got to be this week in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's the last Emmys for.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Just so it's on camera, your name.
I'm Kari Skogan, nominated for Handmaid's Tale Best Director.
All right.
Just over a year ago.
Glass ceiling being broken.
You're nominated. It's incredible.
I mean, when we think about where we're going,
and how
it's not broken enough. I know that.
It's otherworldly.
Okay, well, I personally have broken through the glass ceiling several times.
Easy to work with.
So it's possible. I've also, I'm sure, many times hit the glass ceiling and bounced off of it. Probably not even knowing that I did, because the glass ceiling is invisible. It's just there. I would like to say, on behalf of my daughters, that I feel, yes, that the glass ceiling people are acknowledging. I can now acknowledge it instead of trying to ignore it and just sort of bust on. Now I can actually say, yeah, it's true. Opportunities were denied. Doesn't matter. I mustered on. I got there. So I think now it's about getting past even the notion of it. So how about we just say it's gone and see what happens.
That's a very terrible. That should be radio. That's a voice vote.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you guys. Good to see you. Yeah.
Can you slide just a little bit? Okay, go.
How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you. Kari Skogan.
What does being here mean to you?
We'll switch back and forth.
Being here tonight mean to you?
Oh, everything.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to tag everybody.
Let me
try and get everybody.
I sent you my questions. Did you get them yet?
You did?
Yeah.
You've pre-sent me the questions?
Pre-sent for approval.
Okay, I've got it.
You want to use Vitality?
Oh, wow, that's one. Look at that.
Look, up above.
Why doesn't everybody
right
have
there?
it? Right on top? Man, you're a rock star. Thank you, man.
I'm here.
Go.
I'm here for you.
Thank you very much. Let's do it.
What is it? Do you remember your first gig in this industry and where you are now? I want you to compare,
I remember my first gig in every place I've had a first gig in. So I remember my first gig in LA. I remember my first gig in South Africa. I remember my first gig in London. I remember my first gig in Australia. And every single one of them had 20 people who had no clue who I was, took a chance on some random sign that they saw, came in to watch a show, and every single one of those people I still appreciate when I'm on a red carpet like today.
But look at where you are, man. Look at what this has done, this industry, and this show is kind of established, which is wild.
It's been amazing. It genuinely has been amazing. Like I honestly never dreamed or believed that my life would be like this in any way, and I'm glad I didn't, because in many ways, dreaming of it may have led to an expectation that would or would not have been fulfilled. Whereas for me, every day is a blessing, every day is a surprise. I'm loving my life. I'm loving that I get to enjoy my life with amazing people that I make a TV show with. I get to meet amazing people. I'm honestly blessed.
We're asking everybody's binge watching. Is it good or bad? Streaming is here to stay.
I think binge watching is the way I prefer to consume television. That's a narrative, so I wouldn't binge watch The Daily Show because I feel like that's too much news to consume at one time. You cannot consume a week of Donald Trump. Trust me, I've tried. It is not healthy for you. So I binge watch narratives. It's like beautiful. It's a different type of storytelling. And the cliffhangers, I just, waiting for a week, that stress. Is Jon Snow dead? I can't wait for months to know if he's dead. That's just not realistic. I don't think that's healthy for people. So I wait. I let everybody finish. No spoilers. And then I jump in and I binge. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That are happening right now. So when we have such a long game, there's so much work to do, and it's not done. It's just the beginning cracks of starting to change the system, that requires changing at the kind of core of it.
It seems like every week we're reading something new in the news, like Funez is now out of CBS.
Yeah.
So many people are literally the idea that somebody like that would be gone. What is it like to be in this industry now, to navigate all of this in real time, like the rest of us?
I think it's better, and I think that it requires a lot of nurture.
Come to our section.
Yeah, sure.
How
Our
are you,
summit.
man?
Good, my man. How you doing?
All right, first of all, looking very sharp.
Thank you, my brother.
No brainer. Today we're going blue.
Yeah, denim, upscale, downscale. A little combo, a little messaging.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Sit that out, baby.
Right? I didn't want to go too high end and turn people off.
I feel bad for the women. They have to like they're thinking about it.
I know.
All we have to do is slip it on.
Yeah, we just put it on, man.
All right, do you remember your first gig?
Yeah, I mean,
in this industry,
of course.
And where you are now, to be on the red carpet, to kind of like, just.
I was on Miami Vice as a guest villain in 1986. I was 19 years old, and then look at me today on the carpet. Yeah.
Did you have your shirt on?
In that show, yes, I did.
Okay,
I had a machine gun though. I was heavy with the weaponry.
All right, we're asking everybody. Streaming is here to stay.
I mean it.
Binge watching.
Yeah, I love it.
Really? Is it too much? Can you OD on it?
Yeah. No. There are times when I stream too much, when I go too bingey, and then I can't remember one episode from the next.
I'm sorry.
You know, that's the only thing. Things become a little blurry if you binge too hard. So I like better when I like pace it. Maybe one or two. Three's when I start to like, I don't know what the first episode, I don't know what the next episode.
You're not getting it back.
You're mature. That's right. You're mature.
Oh yeah, I'm a mature watcher.
No, I know.
Is that? Thank you, sir. Thank you, pleasure. Thank you.
Look at us all the way. She's right at the end. I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If we move them over, can you move your sticks over a little bit to hold that ground? Or no?
Defeats the whole purpose, but yeah.
I'm just saying, just because he's crooked on these.
I saw the hosts. I bumped into a lot of cast of Stranger Things and Insecure and my cast. I sure did. Yes, no, I talked to her. I touched her.
As a peer?
Yeah. As a peer. As a colleague. Yeah.
There's a lot of change going on. What is it like to kind of navigate this in real time with somebody who's not in this industry, but is also digesting all this information?
I mean, I feel like it's been going on for a long time, but at least in the public eye for a year now. It's scary, but it's also wonderful how much conversations have been made public, how acceptable it is to have conversations about safety in the workplace, about women's rights, about gender parity, especially when it comes to pay. So it's frightening and it's daunting, but it's really helpful that it's now part of our everyday public conversation.
Sandra Oh is making history tonight. She could potentially make history by winning. What would a win from Sandra Oh say about where we are in 2018?
I think it would be fantastic. I don't necessarily know if I'm pulling for it because she's competing against my person, but it would be amazing. The nomination was amazing. It was also a bit disappointing and staggering that there is yet to be a nomination for an Asian American woman, but it would be lovely, wonderful, and especially as a woman of color, I'd probably cry.
The guys from Weekend Update are hosting tonight.
They are.
Looking forward to that. If you could look into the camera and in your best music anchor voice, give us a headline of what you think is going to be the big story tonight.
For the big story tonight?
Yeah, the big story.
Okay.
This is your moment.
Oh my gosh, how does it start? How do news moments start? Oh, all right. Breaking news. The Handmaid's Tale takes home 25 nominations, even though they were only nominated for 20. Amanda Grugel gets 5 just because she's an acceptable human being.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So excited.
Bye, honey.
I see what you're trying to do there. I need that back. I see what you're trying to do.
That's okay.
No, that's okay. I just want to. We're coming over here.
Thank you.
Come on. Do you need that? No, I have mine.
Hi.
Okay.
I love them. I just didn't stared right in them.
Have you ever slipped on telling somebody the plot line where Handmaid's Tale is going to be?
No. Are you trying to get me to do that?
No.
Is that what you're trying to?
I have a large sum of money, but have you ever kind of just blurted it out?
No, because they only really tell us 5 or 6 days before we shoot. They don't just give us everything. They know a lot of us aren't really that trustworthy. They know, and they know that I will get paid to leak information. Money. So no, I don't know. They don't really tell us a lot, and so I can't slip. There's not enough of a turnaround for me to give the news to people.
Scoot over here real quick. All right, no-brainer dressing up today.
Yes.
How does a woman go through this? I mean, I would pull up my hair going like, oh my God, how do I dress up? How do I put this out?
I mean, you're dressed up. You look quite spiffy.
All we do is do a tuxedo.
Well, that's really all I did. Just hair and makeup and bathing and alcohol. I think it's the same thing. I mean, I'm sure you showered.
Okay, but look at what you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
Did you have 5 or 6 of them?
No. 5 or 6 dresses?
Outfits like to choose from?
No, I just looked at it and I was like, good to go. Yeah, you don't really, when you're my age and you've done this a while, you sort of just look at it. I have 2 kids, I don't have time.
We're asking everybody binge watching, good or bad.
Amazing.
No, really?
Yeah. Not the Handmaid's Tale though, because you'll kill yourself. But uplifting shows, yes. Yeah, they're great. I mean, I barreled through Atlanta in, I think, a day. And so it was just, and it was wonderful. The only thing that was upsetting about it is that it was over and I had these characters, like they were my friends. And all of a sudden it was like my friends like forgot my number. So that was sad. Binge watching's probably sad. Don't do it. Yeah.
Thank you. This is therapeutic.
Yeah.
This is good.
Sad.
You feel better?
Good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good night.
Into How to Get Away with Murder. I'm trying to get into Stranger Things. I'm trying to get into everything, but it's like trying to binge. Yeah, I'm trying to binge on everything. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Come over here, I'm gonna kick you out.
I logged in today. That's all I want.
Want to switch places?
Wait, hold on.
Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. Meeting of information.
They'll never come over.
I know.
They'll go directly over.
All right. I'm glad you got the end because you actually get.
I like this.
When I was laying this out, I was like, oh, good. This is my.
Up here, up here. You get to air.
Oh wow.
You get 2 extra inches. You go with it.
Thank you.
Okay, one more guy? You definitely want these guys. Hi, how are you?
Oh no. All right, they're going to pass us.
Oh, it died. Alright. Okay, let's focus up. Oh, Jeffrey Wright? Yeah. Oh, Real Adventure Million guy? Jeffrey Wright? Okay, let's do that again. Alright.
I'm going to try to get Kate McKenna right here. These 2 people, you see them down here. Just a quick one as they walk by. They're not going to stop, but I'm just going to tell you. How you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
She's like, I got this in my boy. This is really cool. So he does everybody's name before sex. Even if it's like their first name, it says I don't think it's really hard. Just because I mean the writers are really great and then I gotta come back and get my suit on, and then I gotta go to the Emmys, and then it's gonna be so much fun.
Are you having a lot of fun?
Yes.
Fantastic. What are you most excited about? All right.
When I'm most excited, it's hard. Probably just like seeing a bunch of my friends like here, just because I mean sometimes we don't get to hang out a lot, so tonight will be really fun. Like the older characters like Justin and Sterling, we don't really get to hang out with them a lot because they're on.
Oh, what's it like to work with those guys?
It's really cool. Yeah. We don't really work with them a lot, but like when we do see them, it's really cool. Just because like when I look at Justin.
Kate, real quick, how many zippers do you have? Can we talk to you before while you wait? I'm here.
Trust me, we want our show. You want Emma Washington? Sure. How are you? He's right here.
I would go crazy. Oh, really?
It's been so long, I have no air conditioning for you.
Oh my God!
I don't understand what happened. I thought we were bonding.
I thought you had the best. You had the best the last time. Well, you know, we.
How proud are you on these type of things? When you look at the state of the industry and where we are, diversity-wise, streaming, where this industry is, almost a new age.
Well, they say it's the second golden age, and I think in some ways they're right. I mean, it's not the television that my mom and dad used to watch, and even myself. We have so many different variety ways of watching it, and when we watch it, we see ourselves. We see a reflection of society much better than we used to.
Breaking more ceilings.
You know, inclusion has always been a platform that I stand on. You know, we still have work to be done on it, but I think we're getting a lot better.
And the ceiling's always been broken.
It's always being broken, but you know, as you know, time goes on, we find other areas that we can always improve. But I think we're doing a really good job, and it's going to be a wonderful 7-ish show tonight.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Of yourself.
Here, there.
Do the best you can, then that's all that you can hope for. But it is a bit difficult in these times. And the one thing that I always say to my younger counterparts is that surround yourself with like-minded people that are genuine people that are really vested in this industry and try truth in your work. And everyone, happy 2018 Emmys. I'm happy to see you. 70th Emmys. This is great. And he's wearing a peak lapel, single-breasted, one-buttons.
Whatever he said.
No. He's dapper. I'm wearing like BFR, peak lapel, one button. Looks good. Midnight Blue. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Hey, Darren.
Coming back, guys. Okay, great. You should leave it though. You definitely want to get him. Get photo walls.
Yeah. It's like a team.
Way back over 30 years ago. So it's great that we can keep authentic to her sense of being as a cause of humanity. But we love Canada, we love working there. India is incredible. Postcards.
Real world events planned in real time to mirror what's going on in the show?
Yes, I mean, it's like Atwood's novel, it's incredibly prescient, but a lot of these themes have never gone out of fashion, and we just brought it back into focus.
We're actually on the verge of making history. Sandra Oh was the first Asian nominated for that category. If she wins tonight, what do you think that says about where we are in 2015?
That sounds to me like a long time coming. This shouldn't be new news, sadly. She should be nominated years ago. So, but you know, we move forward. We continue to move forward. It's great.
For you, for the show, what would a win mean for you guys?
I've won right now, quite honestly. Just getting over here is a big win for me. To be with my fellow cast members, we're elated. It's great. Now we just sit back and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can we ask you a couple questions?
Sure. Can I just run it by Annie?
We're friendly.
We just have to go over there. We'll be right back.
Dress like that next year, honey. Hi, David Bradley.
This is my love affair.
So excited for you.
We're going to they're so well trained not to look at
With everyone except the whole world outside the train.
Heidi, will you talk to Canada?
Hi, I'm Kurt. Nice to see you. I've been looking for you and I've been stuck and then... What's up, Smitra? What are you doing? I'm good, how are you? What are you doing? Are you over there now? Good for you.
Heidi, will you talk to Canada?
Sorry. Yes, I will. Anyway, I'll go back, but good to see you. I'm glad that you're... What's that? Oh, we're on the other side of X-ray. I have access to a Roman carpet, so. Gotta ask the right questions. Can you make it?
Yeah, I'm not picking up on this.
I mean, you know, it's just me and Vic. Jim's not here. Yeah, so come, so we can get a picture. Are you going backstage after this? Great. You look great.
Silicon Valley guys are already coming?
I'm excited for right now. But I love being
yeah, we definitely Percy, can we talk to Canada really quickly? We'll talk to Canada very quickly.
Sorry, I'm being pulled. But hi.
How are you feeling tonight?
So great. Hi. I love Canada. Everybody's so sweet. I mean that.
Oh, yeah.
It's been such an
Yeah, we definitely want that.
I have been a volunteer as a ring president.
Anthony, will you talk to Canada? Come on! Come on, dude! Okay. He's not coming back. He's not coming back.
Mighty, a little bit mighty.
Jeffrey Wright, we want to talk to him.
Did you ever get Trevor? You did?
No, I'd love to get him. Chrissy, do you have 2 minutes for Canada?
To ask one question.
I thought we were going to...
No. I was like, where's the water? Yes.
Oh, no, we do have.
Don't you dare.
We got a fan.
Oh, this is nice.
In the back.
Right, okay, fair enough. Oh, great, thank you.
Just one quick question.
Oh my God. I mean, first of all, to have a job that means something, and it means something to so many people, and then you get recognized with your peers. It's really, really special.
The show not only has an emotional impact on people, I feel like you're forming a family with millions of people in real time.
Absolutely. I mean, people come up to me and act as if they know me because I come into their homes every Tuesday, and it's a really sweet sort of bonus to doing something that you love, because I think that's why we do art, is to connect with each other and get, a sense of community. So it's really special.
Are you emotionally prepared for a win tonight?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about that. When you're on This Is Us, you have to be emotionally prepared for everything. So, I mean, like when we won the SAG Award, that was like, we couldn't believe it. So I know what sort of that feels like. I'm prepared. I'm not expecting anything, but I'm sure I'm prepared.
I feel like we're at a very unique inflection point in history right now. In the entertainment industry, there's bad news, and then there's really good news. Sandra Oh is making history here tonight just as a nominee. Could make history as a winner. What would that say about where we are in 2018?
Well, I think that people are realizing that art is finally catching up to life, and there are people's stories who need to be told, and it doesn't matter if they don't look sort of what all the people who put in boxes look like, because every person's story, no matter where they come from, who they are, where they, their race, their age, their weight, any of that, those are the stories that are put together. What's important?
We are friendly.
Ending this year.
Yeah.
We're nice people.
The Americans just want to.
I like your beard.
Oh, thank you. You as well.
I need mine a little bit longer.
Cool.
Talk to me about your first gig.
I don't know if anything's going to happen because you guys are very nice to each other.
And where you are now.
There's no conflict. But it could be a sweet
in a short little.
Of like saying sorry.
My very first gig was children's theater.
I'll be in the picture.
I'd graduated college. I was waiting tables at night, and I was touring around metropolitan Washington, D.C., telling American history through folk tales to elementary school kids. That's where it started. But I'll tell you something about that. Those audiences trained me, because if you can capture the kids' attention, you can capture anybody, and they'll let you know if you're not, because they'll soon be leaving the room, if not in body, in spirit. So
the show is attracted and captured the kids' attention.
Yes.
Everybody's attention.
Well, I think the elementary school kids probably skip our show, but yes, there's a.
I've watched about a half an episode.
Close your eyes.
I'm more of a comedy kind of person. That's okay.
She's got a few years before she visits Westworld.
Binge watching, is it good? Streaming video is here. People binge watch all the time. Is it almost too much, or not enough, or you can't get it?
Yeah, I think if you find something, you lock yourself into it. Yeah, it's great if you're there. I like that our show. If you dig in and you binge watch a show, sure, go for it. However, I like that our show isn't bingeable until the season's over, because it requires you to take a little time. Take it in. There's a lot going on, and you gather with everyone else who's watching the show at the same time, and then you skip on to the next week. And it takes us 6 hours, 16-hour days, 6 months to put this thing together. Say, come on, don't just have it, and over pizza one weekend. Just take it in, take your time, savor it.
A statement from a true professional.
No,
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes for Canada?
Hey, of course.
First of all, I'm such a huge fan.
Oh, thank you.
Playing for this interview for a long time. I'm a huge fan of the show as well.
Thank you very much.
I feel like this is a career-defining role in a lot of ways.
Oh, wow. Well, I thank you for that. I think every role that I've done in some ways has been defining for me, but this has been special work. It's one of the best elaborated, collaborative circles that I've ever worked with. This group of people fully committed to this and hardworking and brilliant. We inspire one another. We're led by Jonah Nolan, Lisa Joy, who are just frighteningly ingenious couple.
It's a little much, actually.
They not only do they do the show, they lead our team of writers. All of this work is flowing out of their imaginations. Incredibly creative, so much so that they had a kid each of the first 2 seasons of the show. They just do everything and do it beautifully.
What would a win mean tonight?
Well, a win would mean, a validation of all the work that we all put in. But I already feel that we won. We got 21 nominations. That's, our peers saying, well done. And I also feel that I won tonight because I've got my girl with me. And so, I'm good, man. Wave that checkered flag.
There's I feel like we're at a very unique inflection point. It's the history of the world, history of this business. But there is good news. Sandra Oh is making history here tonight just as a nominee. She wins tonight, she'll make history as a winner.
Yeah.
What do you think that says about where we are in 2018?
This doesn't sound very bad. It's very sort of standard issues that I like.
We've come a long way. Our country, our industry evolves. It speaks more about that than it does speak about the individual contributions, because there have always been extraordinary performers, artists who are marginalized. Doesn't say anything about her, doesn't say anything about us that we're now being included. We've always been badass, okay? But it does say that the industry is evolving. It's not perfect, never was, never will be, but moving in the right direction.
Cool. Thank you very much. Congratulations, you're received.
See you later. You're asking why people like the show. Just to see myself. I like shows better about some version of family. Well, hello there, Miss Family members this year, especially kids. Now, just the family. Maybe that's
Oh, legit, Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna.
Great to see you. How are you?
How you doing?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the show. The last couple seasons have been
top shelf, premium.
Just
Agreed.
What is it like to be here tonight? What is it like to be here year after year?
At this point, really passe. I'm totally over it. I can do this in my sleep.
Being here year after year, I stash a little bit of, I bring a little food each time, and I find there's like a little place in the men's room behind one of the toilets where I will just stash a little bit more food every year.
Right.
And so this year I'm going to finally cash in and eat all that.
It's like you're finally using up your archive.
That's right.
Non-perishable, hopefully.
I know it's highly measured. It's like it's a lot of Cornish game hens and sponge cake.
Open air meat.
Yeah, open air meat in the men's room.
Probably jerky by now.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very unique show. It's a very unique history of the world. It's actually technology.
I thought you were talking about the Emmys. I was like, how is it?
No.
Literally been going on for decades.
You guys are fucking fans of this show as well. A lot of people.
Oh yeah.
What would a win mean for you guys tonight?
Astonishment.
Yeah, the ability for us not to be able to call us losers anymore.
I mean, we can still find a way.
It certainly would be nice, but I don't think any one of us is doing it for that reason. This is kind of just like a nice little byproduct of people collectively saying, well done.
We're a Canadian entertainment show. A lot of shows are coming to an end this year, including The Americans. thinking about pitching a show called The Canadians.
Okay.
What can we pitch here? What's the log line?
Okay. John A. McDonald rides a beaver over to the Looney Factory and befriends an unlikely pal in the form of Wayne Gretzky.
The Looney Factory, like the Treasury.
Right. Yeah, but it's called the Looney Factory.
It's about
they call it colloquially the Looney Factory.
He drives a beaver to the Treasury where he befriends Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, man.
I mean, why are you giving this away? Why are you giving this away?
Literally the boss.
Congratulations, guys.
You got it.
No, me.
One more quick one here. Oh, sure. Hello.
Gentlemen.
Hey. Oh.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Do you guys binge watch, or what do you guys binge watch? And is it good for you? Ooh,
I don't know. Well, I play too many video games to watch a lot of TV, but I watched a lot of. Not highbrow stuff.
It's okay. Say
I watched Forged in Fire. I watched, which is a blacksmithing competition show on history, and I watched The Bachelor, which is
Wait, that's such a funny duo.
Yeah.
Blacksmithing and The Bachelor.
Yeah. Wow. You know
what does it mean?
I watch American Ninja Warrior, like back-to-back episodes. I watch Killing Eve and Fleabag.
So there.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember your first gig in this industry and thinking where you are now, walking on the red carpet?
It certainly is a nice jump. Oddly, I mean, I got my start doing commercials, and I've gone full circle now, bizarrely. But yeah, it certainly is a nice feeling, not only to be on a TV show that we love doing and that we're very proud of, but it also has enough sparkle around it that a crazy institution like this will give you a nod on an evening. It's pretty cool. You got it.
Thank you.
Prepare to be disappointed by me. Okay, I'll prepare. We are at a very interesting question point. The history of the world, the history of this business. What is it like to be the epicenter of all this and be watching it in real time?
I think everybody's experiencing it the same way, but I guess from a slightly different vantage point. The world is in a scary and interesting place because a lot of what's happening in politics seems to be sentiment-driven as opposed to data, as opposed to facts, as opposed to information. And sentiment is a powerful thing. You know, if people feel like they're losing their country, then it's as real as if they weren't really losing their country. If people feel like they're being displaced in society, that is as dangerous as if they actually were. And so we're in a world where now we're trying to combat information that is fake online. We're trying to live in a world where people communicate in like a holistic manner where there's context, and what's really tough is seeing how this is broken down. People don't have conversations anymore. People fight. People don't try and see another person's point.
All right, ready? Here we go.
You don't know where it's going to go.
One question. I'm very nervous. I don't know what my one question is. Talk about how proud you are of this woman.
It's
just in the aspect of
yes,
you've worked really hard.
Thank you.
And being nominated and thinking where your career is going. I remember interviewing him when he was.
We are, but
it was a long time ago. Talk about that.
I'm so proud. I mean, you know, I watched her take this material, develop this material as a producer, and you know, give herself this opportunity, and then also like step up to the plate and just like, you know, unbelievable performance. And I may sound biased, but I think I'm of the popular opinion that it's just like so well deserved, and she worked so hard. I watched how hard she worked, and she's amazing.
That's 25 points right there. 25, 50? 50?
Yeah. 50? All right.
One question, I promise. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Marriages, when they're at their best, it's about teamwork. To accomplish all this,
So proud. Like, I am her biggest fan, and I'm way more geeked out about this than she is. So I won't embarrass her more than she wants me to. But yeah, like I just saw how hard she worked and you know how much she put into this, and as a producer and also an actor, and just like crushing performance. And
it's so amazing.
Yeah, it does. It's a wonderful thing.
You good. Girl, you good.
Would you stop it? Now I'm getting really embarrassed. Now we gotta go.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Trying to understand context. And I think what's really tough for people to balance in their minds is the image of a person they thought they knew with the actions that person may have done. And for some people, because it's a long time ago, they think it doesn't matter. For some people, they feel like accountability has an endpoint. But I think we always have to be cognizant as people that we aren't too quick to make the perpetrators seem like the victims. You know, because the stories that have to be told are the stories that need to be told, which are those of the victims or those who have survived and don't even consider themselves victims. And so we're in an interesting time. And I think the movement is strong, the movement is growing, and if anything, it'll reshape how we create what we create going forward. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you. Thank you, sir. You out to Canada, guys? Yeah.
Shocked me. Thank you. So here's the deal. So I saw you and I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then I
Jeffrey Wright,
we just did our best to try and raise that bar a little bit more. And we were just talking about the quality. It always comes down to the word. And from George or Martin to David and Dan, who gave us these magnificent words, sentences, and speeches, we just have to show up.
Has streaming up the game? Does that change the entire streaming platform? Changed everything?
I think it has. Yeah.
All right, everyone, just a friendly reminder, that was tape playback of the Emmys gold carpet. So I'm going to take us back to a portion that we have not seen and show it to you here on News Now, a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. Oh, and I just realized the show is going to be starting any moment. So that looks like that was it. That's all we had from the gold carpet. Remember, I said I wasn't sure if it was going to start at 5 Pacific or 5:30, but it appears it's starting at 5 o'clock. Again, you're watching News Now, a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. Thanks for being with us. This is a live look at the White House.
The Secretary General has just returned to New York after having been in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia yesterday, where he witnessed what he called a historic moment, the signing of a peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Speaking to reporters with the Saudi foreign minister after the event, the Secretary General expressed his deep appreciation to the role played by His Majesty, the custodian of the two holy mosques, for bringing the parties together. The Secretary General noted that the agreement means there is a wind of hope blowing in the Horn of Africa. He pointed to other progresses made in the region, including talks between the leaders of Djibouti and Eritrea. While in Jeddah, he met separately with King Salman as well as the Crown Prince and the Foreign Minister. In all of these meetings, he discussed the funding shortfall for UNRWA and the situations in Syria's Idlib province, as well as in Yemen. And I want to say just we expect a statement later today, but I do want to say for now that we extend our condolences to the victims of Typhoon Mangkhut in the Philippines and China, as well as those of Hurricane Florence that hit North and South Carolina. In the Philippines, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs is working closely with the government to coordinate rapid assessment and response. Major areas of need include food, health, water, sanitation, and hygiene, as well as shelter. Access to high mountainous areas is often of concern, as well as potential floods and landslides. The United Nations stands ready to support the government's relief efforts as needed. And Martin Griffiths, the special envoy for Yemen, is in Sana'a, where he'll be there, also be there tomorrow. On Wednesday, he will travel to Riyadh for 2 days and then go onwards to New York to be here during the General Assembly. Over the weekend, the humanitarian coordinator for Yemen, Lise Grande, initialed a note verbal with authorities in Sana'a to enable the medical transfer of critically ill patients by chartered flights to medical facilities that is equipped to manage such cases. The World Health Organization is working with all parties to confirm the operating procedures for the humanitarian air bridge. And an independent international company has been contracted to review the medical records of the patients who were selected to ensure they are eligible for the service. The humanitarian air bridge will operate for an initial period trial of 6 months. And Nikolai Mladenov, the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, said yesterday he was concerned at the intention of the Israeli authorities to demolish the Bedouin village of Khan el-Ahmar, also known as Abu el-Hilu, a community of 181 people, over half of whom are children. He calls on the authorities not to proceed with the demolition and to cease efforts to relocate Palestinian communities in the occupied West Bank. Such actions are contrary to international law and could undermine the chances for the establishment of a viable, contiguous Palestinian state. And today, Mr. Mladenov also extended his condolences to the family of Ari Fould, an Israeli-American civilian who was stabbed in the West Bank yesterday. Everyone must stand up to violence and condemn terror, Mr. Mladenov said. And today, the humanitarian coordinator in the occupied Palestinian territory, Jamie McGoldrick, announced the release of $1 million from the humanitarian fund for the occupied Palestinian territory to prevent the collapse of life-saving services in the Gaza Strip. The funds will be allocated to the UN-assisted emergency fuel program, which provides emergency fuel, mainly for backup electricity generators, to around 250 critical health, water, and sanitation facilities in the Gaza Strip. Well, the allocation will provide around enough fuel for 1.5 months. At least $2 million in additional support is still needed to cover the bare minimum. And on peacekeeping, our colleagues report that Nepalese peacekeepers serving with the UN mission in South Sudan was shot and wounded by a government soldier while traveling in a convoy in the town of Yi over the weekend on Saturday. The peacekeeper was evacuated to a UN base before being airlifted to Juba for further medical treatment. In a statement over the weekend, the Special Representative for the Secretary General, David Shearer, described the attack as unacceptable and said the perpetrator must be found and held accountable by the authorities of the government. He added it was beholden on the government to bring their forces under control. In the same statement, Mr. Shearer said it was disheartening that despite the signing of the revitalized peace agreement by all parties to the conflict days ago, fighting is continuing in South Sudan and Central Equatorial region. He said all forces must disengage as required by the peace agreement, and the parties must work together to build trust between themselves and with the people of South Sudan. And back here, as you will have seen, Rosemary DiCarlo, the head of the Political Affairs Department, briefed the Security Council this morning on developments in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And she recalled that the Secretary General has welcomed the commitments made by Chairman Kim Jong-un on September 5th to realize the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Under Secretary General DiCarlo also said the Secretary General during his upcoming high-level week during the General Assembly will discuss how he and the UN system can further support the parties and what steps can be further taken towards advancing sustainable peace, security, and complete and verifiable denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula in accordance with relevant Security Council resolutions. He hopes that the Inter-Korean Summit, as well as the planned summit between the leaders of the U.S. and the DPRK, will further contribute to the process. And late on Friday, UN officials welcomed the outcomes of the Global Climate Action Summit in San Francisco. The Secretary General said the summit had brought together actors demonstrating the vast opportunity afforded by climate action. They're betting on green because they understand it is the path to prosperity and a healthy planet. The UN Climate Change Executive Secretary Patricia Espinosa said the summit will encourage governments worldwide to step up their actions, demonstrating the vital role that states and regions and cities, companies, investors, and civil societies are playing to tackle climate change. The outcomes of the summit will provide a valuable contribution ahead of the General Assembly, the Climate and the New York Climate Week taking place in a few days' time, as well as for the Climate Change Conference that is scheduled for Poland in December. And there's more on the UNFCCC's website. Also, an update from on the declaration of shared commitments to UN peacekeeping, part of the Secretary General's efforts to renew our collective action to strengthen and support for UN peacekeeping operations. We're now pleased to announce that 109 countries have now endorsed the declaration. They represent 15 of the top 20 uniformed personnel contributors, accounting for 84% of all troop contributing and police contributing, 9 of the 13 states that host peacekeeping operations, 10 of the 15 current Security Council members, and 4 of the 5 incoming Council members, 8 of the top 10 countries by assessed financial contributions, which make up 80% of all contributions to peacekeeping. The Secretary General calls on all remaining member states to join in endorsing the declaration before the high-level event on 25th September. The list of endorsing countries is published daily on the website of the Peacekeeping Department. And a new report released today says that the UN Development Program mobilized $25 million to increase resilience and restore over 800 buildings for the most vulnerable people in Dominica, Antigua, and Barbuda, which were hit by 2 powerful back-to-back hurricanes a year ago. UNDP partnered with governments, the private sector, and other UN agencies to install more resilient roofs in devastated houses, and nearly 1,000 contractors were trained in more resilient recovery techniques. Thousands of tons of debris were also removed and recycled, allowing for further recovery of roads and important sites. Press conferences tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the press briefing room. There'll be a presentation of the 2018 Global TB report by the World Health Organization. And at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon, there'll be a press conference here by Lise Kingo, the head of the UN Global Compact. She will share highlights of the 2018 UN Global Compact Progress Report and upcoming UN Global Compact Leaders Summit. And I just do want to note that today is the last briefing as PGA spokesperson by Brendan Varma. It's been a pleasure to have you here with us. And starting tomorrow, we will have Monica Grayley, who will be the spokeswoman for the PGA for the 73rd session. Before Brendan's final adieu, I will take some questions. Yes, Linda.
Thank you, Steph. Regarding the peacekeeping declaration, you said that 10 out of the 15 Security Council members have signed on.
Yep.
I was wondering how many of them are permanent members.
That is such a valid question and underscores my lack of preparedness, because I should have the list with me, but it's publicly available, so we'll get you the list. Welcome back. How are you, Rick?
I wanted to ask, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if, has the Secretary General made any plans to invite any Rohingya representatives to the General Assembly? Rohingya refugees.
Yeah, no. I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of any plans. I will have to look at all the side events that are planned, whether it's organized by the Secretariat or not, that may involve the situation in Myanmar. But I'm not aware of any plans on behalf of the Secretary General. Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Stefan. Did you have any update for Libya?
On Libya, no, I do not have anything today.
Thank you, Stefan. Not sure whether you mentioned Yemen in the talks between the Secretary General and the Saudi king.
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. But as you know, there has been an escalation in bombing, and there have been several casualties. Any comments on that?
I mean, I think the message for the Secretary General in the conflict in Yemen is clear, which is that all the parties should actively support the work of Martin Griffiths, his special envoy, who's currently in Sana'a, and then will be going to Riyadh later in the week. And he wants to see an end to the conflict, and he also calls on all the parties, including the coalition, to ensure that civilians are not hit and that civilian infrastructure is not hit either. Stefano. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Secondly, you have read the statement by Mr. Mladenov on the Palestinian village. Does the Secretary General also...
Mr. Mladenov represents the Secretary General in these matters, so he's the representative of the Secretary General in the region.
Yes, on that is a follow-up on the Yemen, actually. But because this situation, especially where children have been involved even a few hours ago in Yemen, they continue to die from bombing. After meeting the king and the prince, is the Secretary General satisfied the answer he received from the Saudi in trying to prevent this?
I would refer you back on his report on children in armed conflict. But second, the Secretary General will only be satisfied when he sees an end to the fighting and the end of the suffering of the Yemeni people. Mr. Varma.
No, I have... on this, another question. Actually, two questions. One is that we had just on the press briefing room, Anka, we have the press conference with the parents of journalist Austin Tice, that he's been held in Syria for 6 years now. Does the UN has any information that maybe can be useful for his release?
Austin's parents have been in touch with various UN officials. We're very aware of the case, and we're following it very closely.
And then the last thing is a matter of another journalist. I received from Matthew Lee an email where he's asking me to ask you a question. Can I ask you the question, Matthew Lee?
You may ask me a question. The questions you choose to ask or your own responsibility.
I'm just telling you openly.
You don't need my permission to ask me a question.
Okay,
so if you have a question to ask me,
yeah, but it's not my question.
Well, no, but Stefano, it's your question is your responsibility.
Sure.
Okay, so you ask me a question.
Okay, so I ask you a question on behalf of...
No, you ask me your question. It's your responsibility. It's your question.
Well, I think I'm not risking anything. I don't know. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Matthew sent me an email where he says, when he wanted to ask this question, as a matter of due process, which diplomats of mission complain were the basis of the ban of inner-city press? Do your hollow countries...
I think I have spoken at length...
...which don't like an independent media question to ban it for the UN?
Caro, I have spoken at length on the status of Mr. Lee and inner-city press, I think in very clear terms. The decision was taken by the Secretariat without any inputs from any member states. Mr. Bass, do you have your own question?
I have my own question.
Are you asking on behalf of Linda?
No, I have my own question, and it's coming rather late because it's things that are developing while you're speaking, and I know you don't like that, but I wondered if you could get an initial reaction to the fact that we've seen President Putin, President Erdogan speaking in the last few minutes. I will read you the quote from President Putin. "We've decided to create a stage-based demilitarized zone of 15 to 20 kilometers in Idlib, supervised by Turkey and the Russian military police." What is the UN's reaction to that?
As you said, it's asymmetrical warfare when you're reading me things I haven't seen. Well, obviously, I think the meeting between President Putin and President Erdogan is a very important one that we hope can have a positive impact on the civilians that are in Idlib. They're at great risk. We will take a look very carefully at what was said, and we very much hope it's a positive development. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we are bringing you out live here to Phoenix, Arizona. Currently 5:16, almost 5:17 in the evening. Pretty sure lots of people are trying to get home following work. Speaking of all those people, we are taking a live look at I-10 eastbound at Warner Road. All right, everyone. That was President Donald Trump footage from earlier today, holding the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration at the White House. You saw that here on News Now, a part of fox10phoenix.com. If you missed it, you can find it on the main YouTube page for us. Meanwhile, we are live in Alaska, looking at Bear Cam. All right, everyone. SpaceX is about to make an announcement about their first person in space. They are providing us this live picture. We'll listen in once things get started. All right, according to SpaceX, this is about the first lunar BFR mission. SpaceX has signed the world's first private passenger to fly around the moon aboard its BFR launch vehicle, an important step toward enabling access for everyday people who dream of traveling to space. They say only 24 humans have been to the moon in history. No one has visited since the last Apollo mission in 1972. Find out who's flying and why any moment now. And that's why the audio's not up until this thing gets underway.
All right, let's see. Well, can you hear me okay? It sounds like you can. Great. Well, welcome. We're incredibly excited to talk more about the BFR rocket and announce the first private astronaut, first a private citizen that's going to go into deep space. And I'm going to start off with just talking a bit about BFR and kind of how we got to this point. So the purpose of SpaceX, the reason for creating SpaceX, was to accelerate the advent of humanity becoming a spacefaring civilization, to help advance rocket technology to the point where we could potentially become a multi-planet species and a true spacefaring civilization. So as we consider sort of the fossil record, the history of civilization, it's important to bear in mind, like, there could be some natural event or some man-made event that ends civilization as we know it, or in life as we know it. And so it's important that we try to become a multi-planet civilization, extend life beyond Earth, and to do so as quickly as we can. That window of opportunity may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time, but we should not assume that it is open for a long time. We should take action and become a multi-planet civilization as soon as possible. And that's kind of like I think the defensive reason. And I do want to emphasize it's multi-planetary, not single planet, but somewhere else. We want to become a multi-planet civilization, have life on Mars, Moon, maybe Venus, the moons of Jupiter, throughout the solar system, and then ultimately extend life beyond the solar system to other star systems. I think that's the future that's incredibly exciting. I think that's the future that we want. And there's so many things that make people sad or depressed about the future, but I think becoming a spacefaring civilization is one of those things that makes you excited about the future, makes you excited to get up in the morning. Like, this is something that you can look forward to, that makes you glad to be a human being. I hope that people will see it that way. That is the intent of BFR, is to make people excited about the future. So this is sort of an illustration of what it would be like on Mars, Mars base. And I want to talk about it. It will show you, like, this is where we were 10 years ago. So we're almost at the 10th anniversary of SpaceX's first flight to orbit. So that was 2008. Yeah, September 2008. It's the first time we made orbit. And we'd had 3 attempts before that did not succeed. Well, it's hot in here. So we'd had 3 attempts to reach orbit, and then the fourth attempt reached orbit in September 2008. And if we had not reached orbit on that attempt, the SpaceX would not exist. So that was the fourth and final possibility of reaching orbit. That was a very, very tough launch emotionally. But fortunately, that launch did make it to orbit. And then not long after that, we won our first really major NASA contract, or we won the space station servicing contract. And those are 2 things that were instrumental in SpaceX's success. Then that brings us to where we were earlier this year, which is the launch of Falcon Heavy. So we went from Falcon 1 being just a little rocket that could launch only half a ton to low Earth orbit and had no reusability, to Falcon Heavy, which is the most powerful rocket in the world by a factor of 2, with enough payload to orbit capability to put a fully loaded 737 passengers, fuel, and luggage into orbit. And we're able to launch sort of a fun payload, which is, a Tesla Roadster with sort of a Starman mannequin to Mars orbit. So we're able to launch quite a heavy payload to Mars orbit and bring the 2 side boosters back and land them back at Cape Canaveral. The center core didn't land successfully, but we'll be able to do that, we think, in a subsequent launch. But it is a massive change over the course of 10 years to go from just barely being able to get to orbit to the most powerful launch vehicle in the world by a factor of 2, to have full reusability of the boost stage. We've now done missions where we've launched the boost stage several times, which is quite great. And then we've been able to refly our Dragon spacecraft. So it's an enormous change over the course of 10 years. And I think if you say, like, okay, how many people predicted in 2008 that SpaceX would have done these things by 2018? I think 0. I think 0. Like, I'm not sure it's 0, but I'm not aware of anyone who have made that prediction, including me, by the way. I would have said this is unlikely. Nonetheless, in 10 years, we got from tiny rocket, barely making it to orbit, to world's biggest rocket by far, with reusable boost stages, and sending a car to Mars. Although a lot of people don't understand, like, why we sent a car to Mars. Obviously, that's a bit confusing. Why would you send a car to Mars? That's bizarre. But the real reason was we wanted to just have something that was fun and that people could identify with. And normally when a company creates a new rocket, they just launch like a slab of concrete or something. And I was like, well, that's pretty boring. So we wanted something that was fun and that felt like you could maybe be there. And that was like the reasoning behind the car and the astronaut in the car. It was a tribute to David Bowie and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and a few other things. And there's also like the Asimov Foundation series etched in glass in the glove compartment. So that's, in fact, Asimov's Foundation series is a key inspiration for SpaceX. So just an update on BFR itself. So the design, the production design of BFR is different in some important ways from what I presented about a year ago. Overall, it is 118 meters long. The payload is still similar. It's about 100 metric tons. That's 100 metric tons well, actually, technically 100 metric tons all the way to Mars because of orbital refueling or orbital retanking. So BFR is designed to be able to take 100 tons all the way to the surface of Mars, or to surface of Mars, maybe Ceres, but if you have a propellant depot on Mars, you're able to get from Mars to the asteroid belt to the moons of Jupiter, and kind of like planet and moon hop all the way to the outer solar system. So BFR is really intended as an interplanetary transport system that's capable of getting from Earth to anywhere in the solar system as you establish propellant depots along the way. Yeah. So we've increased the payload section to be over 1,000 cubic meters. I think it'll probably end up being something around 1,100 cubic meters. There are forward actuated fins and rear actuated fins. The way that BFR flies is somewhat counterintuitive. If you apply your sort of normal intuition, it will not make sense. I'll try to illustrate that in this presentation. So there's the two forward actuated flaps, and then there are two rear actuated wings or fins or flaps, depending on what. They're not exactly comparable to anything else out there. But you kind of want four control surfaces to be able to control the vehicle through a wide range of atmospheric densities and velocities. So the way it operates is kind of more like a skydiver than an aircraft. Almost the entire time when it's re-entering, it is just trying to brake. It's just trying to stop. So it's doing everything it can to shed velocity while distributing that force over the most amount of surface area possible. So the two of the three rear fins actuate. They're like giant wings. It actually requires an enormous amount of force to move those wings. It's sort of in the meganewton class of force. The third fin or wing-like structure is actually does not actuate, and it is not a vertical stabilizer as it may appear. It is actually just a leg. So during the high velocity portion of entry, it's in the lee of the wind, and it really doesn't have any aerodynamic purpose, and it's really just a leg. It looks the same as the other ones for purposes of symmetry. So this is a true physics simulation of BFR re-entering. So it is mostly just coming in like this. At a very high angle of attack. In fact, one of the things that, for the general public, is a tricky thing to understand is that orbit means you are zooming around the Earth at a very high speed. It's counterintuitive where people think perhaps once you get to a certain altitude, gravity turns off. This is not the case. In order to go up and stay up, you have to move around the Earth at approximately 25 times the speed of sound. So in fact, the space station is circling the Earth every 90 minutes. This is a very important concept to understand, that orbit is entirely about your speed horizontal to the ground or parallel to the ground. It is going up and staying up the only reason you need altitude at all is to get out of atmospheric drag. So if Earth didn't have an atmosphere, you could orbit 1 meter or like 3.28 feet above the ground, no problem. Well, it'd be a little dodgy, but it's technically possible. So yeah, if you looked at that simulation, it might be worth playing that again, actually. So you can see it's basically coming in, if this is the Earth, if this stage is the Earth, it's coming in like that. And it's just using its entire body to brake. And it sort of goes like that and slows down, and then it falls like a skydiver. And then it rights itself, fires the engine, and lands on the fins. I mean, this will look really epic in person. Again, looks like guaranteed to be exciting. And you can see it sort of falling body first for quite a while. And it's really quite gentle. You're just sort of falling at terminal velocity for quite a long time. Very gentle fall, just sort of like floating down. And then it rights itself at the end, fires the engines and lands. But it's very counterintuitive. It's not like anything that people are familiar with. It's not like an airplane. Or, yeah. And then obviously, if you're landing on the moon, you don't need any aerodynamic surfaces at all, because there's no air. You just need thrusters. So the next steps with BFR are we're going to build it, or we are building it. This is a picture of the main cylinder section of BFR. So BFR is 9 meters in diameter. It's really quite enormous. You can get a sense of scale. Like that's to scale. So that gives you a sense of the size of the vehicle. Quite enormous. But we're already building it. So we've built the first cylinder section. So that's the first actual cylinder section of the BFR prototype. And we'll be building the domes and the engine section soon. And then this is the Raptor engine. So this is the Raptor engine that will power BFR, both the ship and the booster. It's the same engine. And this is approximately a 200-ton thrust engine that's aiming for roughly 300 bar or 300 atmosphere chamber pressure. And depending upon, if you have it at a high expansion ratio, has the potential to have a specific impulse above 380. But it's a staged combustion, full flow, gas. For those who are interested in technical details, I'm really excited about this engine design. I think the SpaceX propulsion team has done an amazing job on this engine design, and the SpaceX structures and aero, SpaceX team has done a phenomenal job in design of this. It's like super great. Like, well done, guys. I mean, but like this is a stupidly hard problem, and SpaceX engineering has, I think, done a great job with this design. It's like I don't think most people, even in the aerospace industry, know what question to ask. It took us a long time to even frame the question correctly. But once we could frame the question correctly, the answer was, I wouldn't say easy, but the answer flowed once the question could be framed with precision. And framing that question with precision was very difficult. Oh, yeah. So this is the trajectory. So we'll take off, have booster separation, go into parking orbits, do a translunar injection, fly around the moon, and then come back and land. Yeah. That should take a few, basically about 4 or 5 days, and be very exciting indeed. We'll do a bunch of test launches without any people on board before having people on board. To be clear, it's going to be very important to test this vehicle thoroughly before putting anyone on board. Yeah, but I can't wait. I'm super fired up about this. This is amazing. So, funding BFR is definitely a key question, and that's really where we need to seek every possible means of funding. Obviously, we've got launching of satellites. We've got servicing the space station. So we've been transporting cargo to and from the space station for several years now. And next year we'll start transporting astronauts to and from the space station. We've got the Starlink global broadband system that we're developing, which will also be a key source of revenue. But then private customers or any customers for BFR are incredibly helpful in funding the development of the rocket. So that's where I'd like to introduce the first paying customer of BFR. So let's see. Would Yusaku Miyazawa please come forward? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Hiro. Thank you, everyone. Wow. I am from Japan. My name is Yusaku Maezawa. You can call me MZ, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming to this conference today, and thanks for watching live streaming in the internet today. Yeah. Finally, I can tell you that I choose to go to the moon. Yeah. Finally, I can say I'm very glad to be here, and I'm really exciting and really honored, really appreciate to be able to share this announcement with you and people all over the world. Before talking about the moon and this project, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit, okay? Yeah. Oh, I cannot speak English very well, so please listen carefully, please. Yeah. You can see next photo. This is me. I was ex-skateboarder. And does anyone know where this is? No? This is Santa Monica. Yay! Yeah. I had been here. I had been Santa Monica, Los Angeles when I was 18 years old. And I was a skateboarder. I was so impressed by America. Its fashion, music, art, and culture. And of course, nice people like you. Kind. American people is very kind. Yes. And after 6 months staying here, I returned back to Japan and started music. Next photo, please. I played drums for the band. Our band music is so loud, so you don't have to listen to. But I was ex-musician. And after the band, I started my own company. Please? Yes. My company is founded 20 years ago by me. So this year, my company's 20th anniversary. Woo! Thank you. And finally, we started our private fashion label. That name is ZOZO, Z-O-Z-O. And the ZOZO slogan is Be Unique, Be Equal. We are all unique. At the same time, we are all equal. It's important for us. Yeah. You can check our website, zozo.com, zozo.com later. Thank you. Okay, that's all about me. So let's move talking about the moon and this project, okay? Yeah. Now on to the main topic of the day. Many of you may be wondering, why do I want to go to the moon? What do I want to do there? And most of all, why did I purchase the entire BFR? Entire BFR, very huge. For me, this project is very meaningful. I thought long and hard about how valuable it would be become the first private passenger to go to the moon. At the same time, I thought about how I can give back to the world and how this can contribute to world peace. This is my lifelong dream. Today, thank you. Thank you. Today, I'd like to tell you about my plans. Okay? Ever since I was a kid, I have loved the moon. Just staring the moon filled my imagination. It's always there and has continued to inspire humanity. That is why I could not pass up this opportunity to see the moon up close. And at the same time, I did not want to have such a fantastic experience by myself. That would be a little lonely. I don't like being alone. So I want to share these experiences and things with as many people as possible. So that is why I choose to go to the moon. I choose to go to the moon with artists. With artists. From now, I choose to invite artists from around the world on my journey. The first artist I thought of was, do you know, Jean-Michel Basquiat? Do you know? As you can see, I am wearing a Comedy Garrison t-shirt featuring Jean-Michel Basquiat. He already passed away. He's a New York artist. One day, when I was staring at his painting, I thought, what if Basquiat had gone to space and had seen the moon up close or saw the Earth in full view? What wonderful masterpiece would he have created? Just thinking about it now gets my heart racing. But once I got started, I could not stop thinking about who else. What if Picasso had gone to the moon? Or Andy Warhol? Or Michael Jackson? Or John Lennon? Or Coco Chanel? These are all artists that I adore. But sadly, they are no longer with us. But this is when I thought, there are so many artists with us today that I wish would create amazing works of art for humankind, for children of the next generation. And I wished very much that such artists could go to space, see the moon up close, and the Earth in full view, and create works that reflect their experience. This is a project that I designed and named Dear Moon. Yeah. I'd like to introduce details about Dear Moon. In 2023, as the host, I'd like to invite 6 to 8 artists from around the world to join me on this mission to the moon. These artists will be asked to create something after they return to Earth. And these masterpieces will inspire the dreamer within all of us. Needless to say, we have always been inspired by the moon. Take, for example, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, or Van Gogh's The Starry Night, and the Beatles' Mr. Moonlight. These are countless number of works that have been inspired the moon all around the world. Through the ages, the moon has filled our imagination. And with utmost love and respect for the moon, our planet's constant partner, I named this project Dear Moon. At the moment, I have not decided which artists I'd like to invite. But if possible, I'd like to reach out to top artists that represent our planet from various fields, including painters, sculptors, photographers, musicians, film directors, fashion designers, architects, etc. Luckily, we still have some time before 2023, so I hope to work very closely with SpaceX team and to research out to each artist personally. By the way, if you should hear from me, please say yes and accept my invitation. Please don't say no. Okay. In any case, there is still a lot that I cannot announce today, sorry. So I will continue to provide regular updates. We have also created a special website for Dear Moon, which will go live after the press conference. So please take a look. Domain will be dearmoon.earth. Dearmoon.earth, please check out. And I will also keep posting on my social media accounts. So please follow my accounts as well. Okay, so what did you think about this project? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was so nervous because my English is poor, but I am glad I got through it. Thank you. And I hope my English was not too painful to listen to. Lastly, to give you a summary of what I just tried to describe about the Dear Moon. You can see the video from now, please.
It has been 50 years since Apollo 8 achieved lunar orbit in 1968. The time has come for civilians to fly to the moon. In 2023, SpaceX will launch the world's first private lunar mission with its spacecraft, BFR. The first passenger will be Japanese entrepreneur Yusaku Maezawa, a globally renowned art collector who believes art has the power to promote world peace. Maezawa made a bold decision. A painter, photographer, musician, film director, fashion designer, Maezawa will invite artists that represent Earth on his journey to the moon. The distance to the moon is 240,000 miles. The crew will spend a week in space. What will they feel when they see the moon? When they see Earth in full view? And what will they create? Their works will certainly become a legacy for humankind. An awe-inspiring, global, universal art project is about to begin. Dear Moon.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Elon, and the SpaceX team for making today possible. I'm very excited. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so can we do some Q&A? I'm not sure. Sorry?
Yeah.
Great. How did the questions get asked? I'm not actually sure.
Hi, Elon. It's Ken Chang from New York Times.
Oh, okay.
So
hey,
in the past 2 years, we've seen 3 designs for this rocket, and it's 5 years before you plan to send these people to the moon. Have you finalized this? Or are you still planning the hopper test next year? And could you sort of give more details of how you plan all these tests to be ready in 2023? Are you planning like an uncrewed mission to the moon and back?
Yeah, so, but obviously you followed the whole progress of the design and indeed of SpaceX itself. So you've got quite a lot of background. I feel like this is the final iteration in terms of broad architectural decisions for BFR, BFS. There are a few ways to. There's more than one way to solve this problem, and the prior design, the iteration before this, decoupled the landing legs from the control surfaces and had essentially 6 legs and then 2 actuating rear flaps. I actually did not like the aesthetics of that design. And so we have the 3 sort of large legs with 2 of them actuating as body flaps or large moving wings, effectively. I think this design is probably on par with the other one. It might be better. It's slightly riskier, technically, because of coupling legs and sort of the actuating wing fin flaps. But I think it's the right decision overall. I think it looks beautiful. And I love the Tintin rocket design, so I kind of wanted to bias it towards that. If in doubt, go with Tintin. And then additional flights, we're going to do a lot of test flights. So we still anticipate doing hopper flights next year. And then, depending upon how well those go, we'll do high altitude, high velocity flights with the ship in 2020. And also start doing tests of the booster. And if things go well, we could be doing the first orbital flights in about 2 to 3 years. And then we'll do many such test flights and before putting any people on board. I'm not sure if we will actually test a flight around the moon or not, but probably we will try to do that without people before sending people. That would be wise. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Toshi Ogata from the Japanese newspaper called Asahi Shimbun. Mr. Musk, you chose a Japanese citizen for the first passenger.
Well, he chose us.
What? Yeah. Oh, okay. But what's your message behind that? The first passenger was a Japanese citizen instead of U.S. citizen or the rest of the world. What's your message to the rest of the world through this announcement?
Well, he is I think, the bravest person and the most willing to do so. And he was the best adventurer, I think. He stepped forward to do it. To be clear, this is, it's really, we're honored that he would choose us. This is not us choosing him. Yeah, I would defer to comments. You know, maybe you would like to make some comments, but he's a very brave person to do this. And because he is paying, you know, a lot of money, we're not disclosing the amount, but he is paying a lot of money that will help with the development of this ship and booster. And ultimately, you know, this system, this BFR system, is intended to be able to carry anyone to orbit and to the moon and to Mars. And so he is ultimately helping pay for the average citizen to be able to travel to other planets. It's a great thing. Yeah. You know, I hope this is really seen as a very positive thing and something that people are excited about. It's dangerous, to be clear. This is dangerous. This is no, you know, walk in the park here. You know, this will require a lot of training, and it's not again. It's like, you know, when you're pushing the frontier, it's not a sure thing. You know, it's not like just taking an air flight somewhere. There's some chance that something could go wrong. You know, we'll do everything we can to minimize that. But whenever it's the first flight of something on a new technology, and we're talking about deep space, you know, you have to be a very brave person to do that. This is no small matter. Yeah.
David Curley from ABC News. 2 quick questions.
It's impossible to know where the mic's coming from because I just hear the speakers.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
No pad. Falcon Heavy and the 2 deposits, the 2 passengers who were going to go, what happened to them? And bigger picture, what did you think when he came to you and said, I want to do an all-civilian global art project and buy an entire flight to the moon?
Well, it's the same person, but with Falcon Heavy and Dragon, that we would have had essentially, especially for a trip around the moon, only room for 2 people, because it's meant for sort of 4 to 7 for low Earth orbit on Dragon. But it's like about the size of, you know, an SUV inside there. Like if you have a 5-day journey in an SUV, you don't want to be jam-packed. So that's why there was sort of only kind of 2. Now, BFR has got room for 100. And we said, well, maybe it's wise on this to have about a dozen people or thereabouts on the first trip into deep space. You know, he's very graciously offered to provide those seats to artists and cultural influences and like basically, you know, key influences in society, and we better get that flight right. We're gonna definitely be doing everything we possibly can to make sure that is a good flight. But instead of 2, you can have a dozen, and you know, probably not wise to have 100 on this flight. But we'll leave a lot of extra room for, you know, extra fuel and oxygen, you know, sort of food and water, spare parts. Just sort of kind of just in case, yeah, if something goes wrong, like you have as much opportunity as possible for a recovery. I mean, this is a dangerous mission. It's definitely dangerous. Yep.
Danger.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Makoto Mitsui from the Yomiuri Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. I have 2 quick questions. One goes to Mr. Maezawa and one goes to Mr. Elon. To Maezawa-san, how much did you pay for the moon travel, or how much do you plan to pay for the moon travel? And another question to the Elon. So what kind of SpaceX specific characteristics or company culture do you think has contributed to SpaceX becoming the leading company in the United States to come up with innovations such as BRF? Thank you.
Sorry, I cannot answer the price, the cost today. Sorry.
It's going to be free for the artists. So that's cool. I think it's a really good gesture.
Yeah.
It's good of you to do that. As far as the, I think what attracts a lot of the best talent in the world, some of the best engineers in the world to SpaceX is the nature of the mission, which is we want to advance space technology to make humanity a multi-planet species. And I think that the very best engineers in the world, it's not just about a job or making a salary or whatever. It's like, how was the time spent? Did it matter? What was the significance of the project? This is very important, I think, to the best engineers, because the best engineers, they can work anywhere. And I think the fact that this is a mission and it's a lot of hard work, but we're trying to go about it in the right way. I think this is a key reason why some of the best people in the world come to work at SpaceX, and that's how we're able to make progress.
Maroon jacket, right here.
Hey.
Hi, how are you? Mireya Villarreal with CBS News. We just had a quick question. I mean, obviously we know that this is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of precision. In the past, we've known that there have been project deadlines that have not been met. For example, with the Falcon Heavy, what makes you so sure that you can actually meet that 2023 deadline?
No, we're definitely not sure. I want to be clear. And I think we've been pretty unsure about prior dates too. I mean, if I had some sort of crystal ball, I'd love to know, how long something will take. I mean, you have to set some kind of date that is kind of like the things go right date, and then of course we have reality, and things do not go right in reality. Usually there are many setbacks and issues. So, if we put a date out there, it's kind of like, well, if everything goes approximately right, then this is the date. But there's so many uncertainties. I mean, this is a ridiculously big rocket. It's got so much advanced technology. I mean, it's not 100% certain that we succeed in getting this to flight. It's not even 100% certain. I think it's pretty likely, but it's not certain. And yeah, but we're going to do everything humanly possible to bring it to flight as fast as we can, and as safely as we can. Yeah.
Hi, Stephen Clark from Spaceflight Now. Elon, have you made a decision on where the BFR will launch and land initially? And also, for Yusaku, if you're not saying how much you are paying, but can you say if you've made a down payment of any kind at this point? Thank you.
Yes, I did. Already.
Yeah, he's the real deal. Definitely it's made a significant deposit on the on the price, which is a significant price, and will actually have a material effect on on paying for the cost of development of BFR. It's a non-trivial amount that is, it's of material impact to the BFR program. So it really, actually, it makes a difference. This is, yeah. He puts his money where his mouth is. It's legit, so. Sorry, there's another part to the question, maybe? I don't know.
Yes. Have you selected a launch and landing site for BFR for the initial flights and first orbital flights? Thank you.
We've not yet firmly decided on a... I should say for the short hops, we will be doing it out of our Texas site. So we have a site that is on the south coast of Texas near Brownsville, and that's where we will be doing the initial hops of BFS. You should probably think of a different name, but this was like kind of the code name and it kind of stuck, but we might change that name in the future. Yeah, the only thing is, like, I think we want to name like the first ship that goes to Mars after the Douglas Adams, my favorite spaceship, the Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. As for the first orbital flights, we have not made a firm decision on that, and it may actually be that we launch from a floating platform. That's possible. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for doing this. You've shown us the outside of the spacecraft. Can you talk about the work that you've done so far and what the plan is for stuff that goes in it, life support, interior, all the safety stuff you're going to need? And speaking of safety, you mentioned this is a very dangerous mission. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, is there any quantification you can provide to us? Any sort of testing you're doing to the carbon fiber body, things like that, to ensure that this can be as safe as possible? Thanks.
For the interior, we've just have some sort of concepts in terms of what it would be like, and depending upon what type of mission, you'd have a different configuration. So if you were going to Mars, for example, that's at least kind of a 3-month journey, maybe upwards of a 6 or 7 month journey. So if you're going to be in something for 3 to 6 months, you want to have like a cabin, and then have like a common area for recreation, and some sort of meeting rooms, or, like, because you'll be in this thing for months. Now, if you're going, say, to the moon or around the moon, you kind of have a several-day journey. So probably still want cabins. Yeah. Common area. I think you want to have like a lot of like what is the most fun that you can have in 0G? That for sure is a key thing. Fun is underrated. It's like 3 more of that. So, well, like, what is the most enjoyable thing we can possibly do? We will do that, I think. And then safety-wise, this will be built upon our work with the NASA Crew Dragon design. We're going to put more engineering effort into having a fully recyclable system for BFR, because if you have a very long journey, it makes sense to have like a sort of closed loop oxygen CO2 system, a closed loop water system. Whereas if you are, say, just going out for several days, you don't necessarily need to have a fully closed loop system. So there's like a fair bit of engineering that's needed for the Mars journey, but I think probably we can mostly leverage the work we've done for the NASA Crew mission to the space station for the lunar journeys. And we've learned a great deal from NASA, and I really just want to, just give another word of appreciation to NASA. We would not be where we are today without them, and that NASA does remain our primary priority, along with national security space missions. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Tim Fernholtz with Quartz over here. Hey Elon, hey MZ. Question for each of you. MZ, I'm curious if you could talk about what kind of training you expect to go ahead of this mission, what the experience is going to be like to you, and how much input you're having in that tourist experience. And then Elon, I'm just curious if you can tell us what percentage of the company's effort or time is going to BFR right now versus other projects, and how important is that April 2019 commercial crew flight to making this moon mission happen?
俺は何答えるどういう体験ああ Can I answer in Japanese? いやまあそのこれから全部決めますとまだ何も決まってませんでトレーニングもどんなことするかもまだ分かりません
So nothing is written in stone. So we are going to start discussions and decide here on forward. And we haven't really discussed what type of training we'll be doing as either.
All right. Let's see. In terms of SpaceX resources, this is still quite a small portion of SpaceX resources. Certainly less than 5% of SpaceX. Less than 5% of SpaceX resources are currently spent on BFR. Now that will change quite significantly in the years to come. But overwhelmingly, our resources are focused on launching satellites, transporting cargo to and from the space station, and then our top priority is the upcoming NASA crew mission next year, and we're hoping to do a test flight of Dragon 2 in December, and then crewed flight next year, hopefully in the sort of second quarter of next year. So that's definitely our top priority. As we complete Crew Dragon, then we will shift our resources more and more to BFR. So I think, assuming that the National Crew Mission goes well, and that's really quite fundamental to the future of SpaceX. As I said, it's the top priority. Then, once that is, it will hopefully, assuming that is successful and goes well, then we probably towards the end of next year, we would switch a majority of our new engineering development towards BFR by the end of next year.
Hi, this is Liz Lopato with The Verge. I have two questions. I have one for the passenger and one about the rocket. My first question is, what do you look forward to most while you're in space? What do you most want to do while you're going around the moon? And the second is, how much money is it going to take to develop the BFR to make this trip?
I love art, so アートとアートの融合だからアーティストとアーティストがコラボレーションして何が生まれるかっていうのを目の前で見ることができるのが非常に楽しみです。
So I love art, and I'm looking very much forward to seeing what different artists getting together could bring to life.
It's actually hard to say what the development cost is of the BFR system. I think it's roughly $5 billion. You know, it's difficult to say what it would end up being, but if I were to guess, it would be something like $5 billion, which would be really quite a small amount for a project of this nature. Like $5 billion is obviously a very large amount of money, but small for a project of this nature. Yeah.
Last question to the LA Times.
Hi, Samantha Masanaga, LA Times. One question for Elon. You mentioned the various revenue streams that you're planning to use to pay for BFR development. What's your estimate of the development costs for BFR?
Sorry, I missed the question.
Oh, what's your estimate of development costs for BFR?
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Is for this BFR system, I think it's probably on the order of $5 billion. Something like that. I don't think it's more than 10, and I don't think it's like less than 2. We can do a few more questions if there's, yeah. want to make sure if you've made your way out here and you feel like there's an important question that we haven't we definitely try to do our best to answer it.
Elon.
And by the way, thanks guys for coming out here. It's good to see you. Yeah. So.
Elon, Ed Ludlow from Bloomberg Television. Thank you for the event. I have a question about lunar landing and trips to the surface, because you outlined your vision for multi-planet species, the future of the human race. Is that something concrete in the near term as a stepping stone or a way to drive additional revenue? And for the passenger, have you spoken to any of your billionaire friends, any of your high net worth friends, to either convince them of your vision to join you on BFR, or to answer Elon's plea for funding for more BFR? If you could answer that, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Well, I think it'd be very exciting to have a moon base. I used to watch this corny show called Moon Base Alpha. It's made no sense, but it was cool. There was a base on the moon. We should have a base on the moon. Why do we? It's 2018. Why is there no base on the damn moon? There should be one, and we should go there a lot. I think that'd be amazing to have a base on the moon, particularly if it was something where the average person, if they saved up, could go. That would be incredible, and that's the kind of thing we want to do. Sorry? Oh yeah. No, BFR is designed to land on any surface in the solar system, whether there's air or not. That's why it's important to have a propulsive landing system. Wings and landing gear work great on Earth, but they kind of need an atmosphere and a runway. Who's going to build that runway? How do you begs the question. Somebody's going to build the runway. Also, there's no air on the moon, but tricky to land with wings. So propulsive landing is the way to go. It's actually the only way to go, really. You could try to use if you had a small payload, try to sort of bounce. That was one of the Mars missions. Had a inflatable kind of bouncy castle thing. But I don't think that's gonna sell well. So propulsive landing is the way to go. And this is designed for propulsive landing. And the fins are designed to deal with a wide range of atmospheric conditions. So it could, land in theory, another planet with atmosphere. You wouldn't want to land on Venus, though. Yeah, it's kind of like Mars and Earth, pretty much, that have an atmosphere. Everything else is either not relevant in its atmosphere, or it's like a gas giant or something like that. So you really want propulsive landing, and then you use an atmosphere if it's helpful for braking, but you don't require it. Yeah. But we want it'd be great if there was regularly scheduled flights to the moon. I mean, that's a great future. That's a great future. Yeah.
Thank you, Elon. Eric Johnson with Reuters News. Let's say you hit your 2023 goal, and you just talked about, regular lunar trips. Can you talk about what your goal is for an annual ramp up of how many trips you'd like to see? That's question one. And then the second part is, Boeing CEO has said that the first humans will go to Mars on a Boeing rocket.
Game on. Let's do it.
Okay. That's what I want to ask you is, given the increased competition,
good.
What do you have to say to that? Thank you so much.
I say, yeah, good. That's I'm glad you said that. That's great. You should do it. Competition's a good thing. It's races are interesting. I say, I'm glad. I hope Boeing really goes hardcore for moon and Mars missions. Yeah, that'd be really great. As far as the ramp up, it's as fast as we can make it go, we'll make it go. We're pedal to the metal. We just need to make sure we have our priorities right. And our priority is, the NASA, crewed mission, our satellite customers. Those are our current priorities. And once we are confident that that is taken care of, then we will ramp up BFR big time, get the Starlink system active. Hopefully that does the trick. And it'd be great if Boeing, like this, really good at making airplanes. So maybe they can be really good at making rockets too. That's great.
Hey, Elon. Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut here. I see that you changed the engine configuration for the BFS. Can you talk a little bit about, is there still engine out capability? Is it vacuum optimized but still landable on sea level? Can they function as an abort system? Can you just kind of tell us about your new decision making on that?
Oh yeah, you noticed that. That's a good thing to notice. Good eye. So in order to minimize the development risk and cost, we decided to commonize the engine between the booster and the ship. So a future upgrade path for BFS would be to have a vacuum optimized nozzle. So these are sort of, these nozzles are kind of a sea level nozzle, size nozzle, so that they're able to operate well at sea level because they're essentially the booster size nozzle. Like where you see that sort of cargo around the perimeter, you can actually switch out those cargo sections for a vacuum nozzle version of Raptor. So, and it can go all the way to the vacuum nozzle can go all the way to the perimeter of all the way to basically the skin of the vehicle. So you can have you could have something which has maybe three or four times the exit diameter of the Raptors that you see there as engines in the perimeter, and the exchange would be that you'd lose basically 2 of those cargo racks in exchange for every vacuum engine, but then your total payload performance to Mars would increase significantly. But we can do the 100 tons to the surface of Mars with those engines. But it would definitely, I think, like version 2 would have the vacuum engines most likely in place of those cargo racks. Yeah, but having those the engines in that configuration, with 7 engines means it's definitely capable of engine out at any time, and including 2 engine out in almost all circumstances. So you could lose 2 engines and still be totally safe. In fact, in some cases you could lose up to 4 engines and still be totally fine. So it only needs 3 engines for landing. 3 out of 7. Yeah.
Yvan Couronne of Agence France Presse. Mr. Maezawa, have you thought about how you're going to select the artist? And Mr. Musk, can you give us an idea of whether Mr. Maezawa contributed more or less than 5% of the development cost?
どういう意味でああそういうこと、その基本的には自分の好きなアーティストに声をかけたいです。
In principle, I would like to reach out to the artists that I love.
5% でもやってくれてありがとう。
And I'm happy with just 5%. Thank you very much for working on the rocket.
Enough. Thank you.
Well, I don't think we're gonna obviously do any percentage math that would kind of give it away, But it's a material percentage.
Hi, Elon. Robert Perlman with Collect Space and Space.com.
Okay. Sorry, it's almost impossible to see what's going on. Okay.
You showed a trajectory screen before. For this flight, can you talk a little bit about the profile, maximum G that the passengers will experience? How long will they be at the moon, and how close will they be above the surface?
Well, it's important to bear in mind that we can actually adjust the maximum Gs in exchange for a reduction in payload. So this is a mission we could probably do in the ascent phase, keeping it under a 3G ascent. Although, normally you'd probably want to go to 5Gs, but under 3Gs, maybe even like 2.5, because we'd have a lot of extra payload. And then this mission would be a loop around the moon. The exact mission profile has not been decided, but I think it would be pretty exciting to kind of like skim the surface, go real close, and then zoom out far, and then come back around. So in the diagram, it looks kind of symmetric, but I think you'd probably want to go real close, and then go zooming past the moon, go far out, kind of get about as far from Earth as you can get within reason. So like even the moon's relatively small, and you come zipping back in, and then if we do we could do sort of like like an initial atmospheric. There are like two ways to do it. You could either come straight in, which would be a relatively high G situation. That might be like maybe a 6G entry or something like that. Or you could do one where you skim the atmosphere and shed velocity, and then capture into low Earth orbit, and then do a deorbit burn and come in which case you could probably keep the entry Gs hopefully to around 3. This is sort of pretty off the cuff here, but those are kind of, I think, close-ish numbers. Yeah.
This is the last question.
Michael Sheets with CNBC. Elon, you're standing next to the first real person who's putting money behind a project of putting people into space. What does that make you think about going into space yourself, and when do you think that's going to happen?
You mean like me personally? Oh, well, I think first of all, like I would say, I think this is like done a lot to restore my faith in humanity, that somebody's willing to do this. Like, take their money and like help fund this new project that's risky, might not succeed, it's dangerous. It's like donating seats, like these are great things. It's like, I tell you, it's done a lot to restore my faith in humanity. And as far as me going, I'm not sure. He did suggest like maybe that I would join on this trip. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Please, yeah.
Maybe we'll both be on it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. It's very exciting. It's guaranteed to be a really exciting journey, and we'll keep you posted along the way. Yeah. I hope you're fired up. I'm super fired up. This is going to be great. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we are back live in Alaska. We are also in the middle of Fox 10 Extra News at 7. If you're here in Arizona, please join us on Channel 45, Cable 9. I do want to remind you that even though on the top left it no longer says live, this is still live. You'll see my next live hit from the set here in just a few minutes. Hope you're having a fantabulous evening. All right, everyone. I am after this commercial break on television, so you will see me sitting here not saying anything intentionally. Hi, I told you all you'd see me and I'd wave hello. Behind the scenes television, everybody. You guys get to see it all. Thank you guys for watching. I'm on TV really soon here. On standby. Yeah, absolutely. Good evening again. Let's get straight to the video. Hispanic Heritage Month getting acknowledged at the White House in celebratory fashion. President Trump played host to a group of invited Latino Americans, including politicians from Puerto Rico. In his speech, the president pledged continued support for the American island and classified current recovery efforts as a mark in the win column.
To every family who has lost a loved one in these really devastating hurricanes and storms, all of America grieves with you. Our hands are folded in prayer and outstretched with love. We will never, ever leave your side.
Of course, the president had to make remarks after he was recently caught in backlash for calling the Hurricane Maria death toll inaccurate. Moving on to other news now. Several children were hurt yesterday when a camel went wild at the Shrine Circus. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says 2 children and an adult were riding the camel when it was spooked. You can see someone holding on to the beast as it bolts through a crowd of people. Handlers chasing after it in this dramatic scene. A child with a broken arm along with 5 other kids and 1 adult were hospitalized. Circus officials did not immediately know what startled the camel. Eventually, the situation was controlled and the circus resumed for its final day. Well, of course, lots of people keeping an eye on the aftermath of Florence, right? The Humane Society of Missouri is on its way to rescue animals affected by Florence. 10 disaster response team members packed up trailers and boats before leaving for the Carolinas. The group will work alongside National Animal Rescue Team Code 3 associates. They will conduct swift water rescues in communities along the coast. The Humane Society also helped rescue animals during Hurricane Katrina. I know a lot of people are certainly concerned about the animals that were left behind. Back to you. All right, everyone, here on the News Now stream, I'm going to show you how both of my Fox 10 Extra News at 7 live hits went. And then we'll be preparing to wrap things up for the night. I know, you're going to miss us, right? But we'll see you all again tomorrow, right? All right, might want to check your speakers, everybody. This is a test of your audio. All right, News Now, both hits back to back, coming right at ya.
That's why you get some help for these sorts of things, right?
Right.
You start to hire people after a while. All right, Fox News Now streams events from all across the country all throughout the day.
Pilar Arias joining us now from the Fox News Now set with the latest on a border agent accused now in several murders, Pilar?
Absolutely. Good evening. A U.S. Border Patrol supervisor who confessed to killing 4 women remains held on over $2 million bond. 35-year-old Juan David Ortiz was arrested Saturday around 2 o'clock in the morning in Laredo, Texas. Police began searching for him after a woman escaped and called 911, claiming she had been abducted. Ortiz later confessed to assaulting her and killing 4 other women who police say worked as prostitutes. The Webb County Sheriff's Office says Ortiz specifically targeted vulnerable communities, but officials say this case does not reflect the hardworking men and women of the Border Patrol, since they're the ones that are out there all the time.
We do extensive backgrounds upon hiring. We do 5-year reinvestigations. We now have added the polygraph. Our training is one of the best in the nation, a 117-day academy out in Artesia. So I would say that there has not been a degradation when it comes to hiring.
Ortiz spent 10 years with Border Patrol, but this case is getting a lot of national attention, and we'll continue to follow it here on News Now. Back to you. All right, here's the next one.
All right, welcome back. Let's go back out to the Fox News Now set.
Pilar Arias has been streaming all day, all night. She's got the latest on President Trump. Speaking out of Puerto Rico and that controversy, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening again. Let's get straight to the video. Hispanic Heritage Month getting acknowledged at the White House in celebratory fashion. President Trump played host to a group of invited Latino Americans, including politicians from Puerto Rico. In his speech, the president pledged continued support for the American island and classified current recovery efforts as a mark in the win column.
To every family who has lost a loved one in these really devastating hurricanes and storms, all of America grieves with you. Our hands are folded in prayer and outstretched with love. We will never, ever leave your side.
Of course, the president had to make remarks after he was recently caught in backlash for calling the Hurricane Maria death toll inaccurate. Moving on to other news now. Several children were hurt yesterday when a camel went wild at the Shrine Circus. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says 2 children and an adult were riding the camel when it was spooked. You can see someone holding on to the beast as it bolts through a crowd of people. Handlers chasing after it in this dramatic scene. A child with a broken arm along with 5 other kids and 1 adult were hospitalized. Circus officials did not immediately know what startled the camel. Eventually, the situation was controlled and the circus resumed for its final day. Well, of course, lots of people keeping an eye on the aftermath of Florence, right? The Humane Society of Missouri is on its way to rescue animals affected by Florence. 10 disaster response team members packed up trailers and boats before leaving for the Carolinas. The group will work alongside National Animal Rescue Team Code 3 associates. They will conduct swift water rescues in communities along the coast. The Humane Society also helped rescue animals during Hurricane Katrina. I know a lot of people are certainly concerned about the animals that were left behind. Back to you. Speaking of animals, we are back live in Alaska. Hope you all are having a fabulous evening. Please click subscribe if you haven't already. Me, Mike Pace, and the rest of the Fox 10 Phoenix crew will see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.